What is going on, my beautiful people? I hope you're all having a great day. It's been a while since I made a full-length video, so I decided that's what I'm going to do today. It's really pretty. At a different park. I hit up all the parks. I don't like to get complacent. I don't want to get bored. If you're bored, it means that you're not growing. You're not striving to do something new or further something that you already started. So I definitely like to have a variety about myself. Some people have said that I'm mysterious. It's really weird when I hear that about me because I don't feel like I'm being mysterious, or maybe it's because I'm not trying to. I consider myself pretty simple on the outside anyway, and you have to really be around me for a while to feel the depth on the inside, because I don't usually go there with people unless I think that they're authentic, genuine, and they can match it. But I'm at a place today where I don't know if you can see, this is a little like, I don't know if they cook here. I don't really know what this house is for, but it's in a park, and I used to spend a lot of time in this park when I was younger, and it's like a little hangout that me and my friend would always go to just to have our own little space, carve out our own space. So it feels very homey to me in here. I'm surprised that it's still here and they haven't torn it down. But anyway, today I wanted to talk about boundaries, because while you're sharpening your discernment, there's a few things that you can do to help you get further along, to test your skills and sharpen them up, and even push them further and further so that they become better and better, because you want your human lie detector to be strong. You want your God detector to be strong. You want to know what lies behind the mask if somebody is wearing one. So I think the quickest way to learn if someone is wearing a mask is to throw up a boundary. And being a former people pleaser, codependent, doormat, I had very, very little boundaries, because I thought if I threw one up, then someone might leave. That I had abandonment issues from having an absent mother, and I thought that that was like my worst fear, was for somebody else to leave me, especially if I cared or loved about them. So the last thing I wanted to do was to risk them running, cut and run on a boundary. And now I know that that's one of the first things that you should do, because if they cut and run, or if they push you to either let your guard down quicker, to not have the boundary, or they get angry at you, trying to control you. Anger is a way to control. So if someone gets angry or impatient, or they try to just flat out run all over you and steamroll that boundary, then you know that they're wearing a mask, because they're trying to get you to do something that is not healthy for you, but it's advantageous for themselves. So those are some key indicators. And it doesn't have to be a big boundary. If you're just testing it out, there's lots of ways to test it out. Questions I like to, for my discernment, a long time ago, I developed playing dumb. I love to play dumb. I don't like for anyone to know, like I said, my depth, until I see that you can match it and that you're genuine in your depth, and not like a lot of Scorpios that I know. Sorry for those that aren't, but you probably resonate with what I'm talking about if you're still that way, or if you are formerly that way. But Scorpios, I think, are notorious for checking the pulse and figuring out what someone's weak spot is, what their Achilles heel is, so that if you are jealous or angry, or if someone hurts you, then you know exactly how to go and like zap them right where it hurts, quick and to the point, and get that kill shot in, like, with a quickness. So I feel like I've seen that a lot. And but in seeing that, I know that Scorpios are very deep, and they're very in their emotions, and they don't like to put on their face card how deep and sometimes dark and sinister that they can be. But I'm very deep. I have a Scorpio. I'm a cusp. I'm a Libra Scorpio cusp on the day before. I have a Pisces moon, which is pretty psychic. The only more psychic sign that I've heard of is the Scorpio moon. So we're pretty hand in hand with our depth. I have a water bottle tumbleweed going by. But anyway, asking questions that you already know the answer to. Staying really surface, even if you don't like small talk, which I don't. I find it pretty irrelevant. Like, I think that it's very fake and superficial, and unless I'm at work and providing some kind of customer service, it's a huge dragonfly, I don't indulge in a lot of small talk. Or if I'm, engaged with someone else that's providing customer service, then I'll do it as a nicety. And here in the South with our Southern hospitality, it's a face that we put on a lot, so it's hard to get out of the habit and not do that. And I don't want to be rude, so sometimes I do it, but not really into it. But if you want to really force the naive narrative, small talk, being very bubbly and effervescent, being very surface with someone, letting them think that that's all of the depth that you have, is a good way to get somebody to drop their guard quicker. Because if they think that there's nothing there that could outsmart them, there's no depth, there's no intelligence, then they're more likely to, disregard you as a threat, quote unquote. Not that you're trying to be a threat, but it's always good for you to know who somebody is. The quicker the better. So they're more likely to let their guard down and be their true self, whether they're showing their cards on what they plan to do to you or talking about what they do to others, because what they will do to others, they've crossed that threshold. They have no problem doing it to someone else, even if they're close to you, especially if they're close to you, because then they know your buttons. They know exactly how to come in, and you've been familiar to them. You've told them everything. You have no qualms or mistrust about telling them your hopes, your fears, so that they could get ahead of you and they could ruin it, or they could make your worst nightmare come true, whatever. So the quicker that you can know how they might treat somebody else is the quicker that you know how they're potentially going to treat you, or that they have they have it in them. The propensity is there. So always playing dumb. I love to ask people questions that I already know the answer to. So if I've taken the time to small talk with you, or to be like, hey, let me ask you something, pretty much know that I already know the answer, and I'm giving you enough rope to hang yourself with it. So Iron Fist Velvet Glove is one of my big things, especially when I was in management, because I'm going to be sweet as pie to you. I'm not going to be rude. I still love you, but I'm going to hold you at a distance. And beneath that that velvety surface is the Queen of Swords. Queen cut him off. I'm going to let you tell me, who you are. I see you. I'm not necessarily going to tell you. I probably will never tell you or explain to you that I know, or why I do anything that I do after that. But I will be making an exit strategy. I will be planning your departure and however I can do that. Smoke you out, hedge off at the pass, wait for you to make your own mistakes, no matter how long you have to lie and wait, and then execute on that with whatever authority that I may have. Never talking to you again, no matter how long we knew each other. Once I see you, it's up. So I wasted too long having no boundaries, and people that love for you to have no boundaries will walk all over you. I remember one time I had this is when I was much younger, and there was a situation going on, and I put everyone around me and my close-knit unit on notice and let them know that there was something that was going on. And a few of them knew what it was, but I was like, until we get to the bottom of it, until it's figured out, we're just gonna hold everyone at arm's length and just, stay there until I let you know that it's all clear and that everything is good and kosher and copacetic. Then we will proceed as normal. But until then, I would appreciate everyone's patience, everyone's respect during this time. And the ones that stepped forward were not ones that I had really had any question about or suspected of anything at all, really. But the fact that they stepped forward and they didn't respect the boundary, and they were going out of their way to try and change my mind and to rush me about lifting said boundary, or to not have them on any kind of suspect list. And I was like thinking, I didn't, but now I do, because you're putting yourself on it by your behavior and your impatience and your overly involving yourself in being taken off of any kind of sus list. So that let me know a lot. Let me know where they stood as far as, well, they do not like me having boundaries. They love the version of me that doesn't say, whoa, stop, hold on, I'm trying to assess this and keep myself and anybody around me that I care about safe. Like, and that they, were someone that couldn't be trusted because they didn't like boundaries, even if, whether it was with me or with anybody else. They liked being able to do whatever they wanted, whenever they wanted, and not have anybody tell them no. And they would probably be one of the quickest people to throw up a boundary with someone else, like, this applies to you, but it doesn't apply to me. And this person is deceased now, so it's just an example of someone that the first time that I ever really set a boundary with someone that I cared about, much less anybody, that I saw really quickly that they needed the boundary more than anybody. And it wasn't someone that I suspected of, like, needing a boundary with. I trusted this person, but it was a blanket statement that we put out to everyone. But they stepped forward and made themselves boundary worthy, number one. And from then on out, I just knew this person is not who they say they are, and they love being able to take advantage of me and others. And know that moving forward, that if you have a boundary, the first person that needs one is this. So that could be a good way. But I always had trouble setting boundaries with people that I cared about, because I thought they loved me, even if there's something that they've done to me that has hurt me in the past. Of course, I'm going to proceed with caution going forward, but I love them. And hopefully, we've talked this out. We can move forward. They understand where I'm coming from. They've apologized, yada, yada, all the things. Hopefully if you have open lines of communication with someone, that this is, you get through it with a friend or family or a lover or boyfriend, whatever they are. If you're close to them and you have feelings for them, you want to think, you want to hope for the best. And especially if you've had open communication, you've talked about it, and you haven't just swept it under the rug and then gone back to it like nothing's ever happened. If you've talked about it, you want to think that talk did some good and that they respect your feelings, and that you don't need to throw up a boundary. Now, if it happens again, then yes, obviously you do, and hopefully you will take that to heart and not exclude them because of who they are in your life, or just cut them out altogether. But initially, on the first hiccup with someone that you care about, you don't want to think that you need to hold a boundary for them, but might be very important. Might be very important to do so if they don't respect it, if they haven't, if they take advantage of you having feelings for them in any sort of way, and they think, well, I can do anything with this person. Also beware of people that never have boundaries, whether you have a relationship with them or not. If they just barrel through any kind of perimeter, whether you've set a boundary or not, that you can tell that they're just used to walking all over anyone and everyone that they come in contact with, that they just never, and a lot of people that do that, they come off with a mask of being nice, being overly nice, being a giver, and they think, well, if I'm always giving to this person, if I'm always bearing gifts, if I'm always giving compliments, if I'm always offering to help, then they're not going to mind if I have no boundaries, because I'm always bringing good into their life. But that's a mask. That's a mask that they're wearing to be manipulative. Like I said in one of my posts, a people pleaser is manipulation, whether you want to acknowledge it or not. It is, and you need to shed it to be your authentic self, because even if you came about being a people pleaser from codependence, from being around a narcissist, or however you developed, and you think, well, I'm just being nice, I'm just being good to this person, I'm bringing positivity into their life, but no one is that way all of the time. And if you're doing that, it's so that you can, get into their life. You can get closer to them. You can get them to let their guard down. You can, whatever they want, the door is open, because you are a nice, sweet sugar plum of a person. And a lot of times that's never genuine, in my opinion. Even looking back at myself being that way, it was an advantage for me to get ahead of whatever may happen, so that someone saw me in a certain light and they knew that I could be trusted. Now, did it mean that I couldn't be trusted? No, but it put me in a position to always be trusted. And you never know what someone's motives are until it's too late most of the time, especially if you haven't sharpened your discernment. So anyone that has no boundaries and expects you to have no boundaries and just barrels through with the niceness and, giving you everything, staying 10 steps ahead, listening to you talk about what you need, and then having go out and get it for them the same day, like that's not always helpful. That's manipulation, and that is conditioning you to have zero boundaries with them, so that whenever they need something for themselves, they know that there's no red tape, there's no yellow tape, there's no tape at all. They're just gonna, come over uninvited. They're gonna say whatever they want. Like, they're not gonna have any regard for your feelings. They're gonna think that they have this position that they have earned through giving you things and being overly sweet and nice, and providing every thought that you have as something into fruition for you, that they've earned that, whether you've said it or not, by doing all of these things for you, that they have earned that position, and they are going to take whatever they want, because this is this is who they are in order to get that. So that's another way to watch, the people that have no boundaries, don't like your boundaries, don't think those rules apply to them. It's very important to have boundaries, because you are worth boundaries. You need to keep yourself safe and protected. You need to love yourself, and that is a big way of loving yourself, is by having boundaries. I found myself in positions where I didn't have boundaries with people that were close to me, and the second that I thought something was fishy was up. Now, this is the further advanced version of me, that even though I loved them and thought that I didn't have to have boundaries, and that, me and this person were pretty good about, having like a soulmate connection. Not romantic, but like, you don't have to be romantic or, sexual with someone that's your soulmate. So I had considered this person like a soulmate, because we took care of each other on many different levels as far as life goes. And I didn't think that I needed that with them. And I was very naive to that, like genuinely naive to that. But once my spidey senses started going off, I thought, let me just see something. Let me just see something real quick. Let me just put up a boundary and see what happens. And that's how I want you guys to test it. Doesn't have to be big, just very small, just something very small. Like, hey, I'd appreciate it if like this, whatever, something minute and not even important really, wouldn't raise a red flag to them, but lets you see how they're going to react. Say, I don't want to do that anymore. I know I've done that in the past, but I've just had a bad experience, or I've thought about it, or I've had a dream about it, or, something I heard someone else say made me think about it a little more, and I've decided going forward I'm not going to do that, like with anybody, or I don't like it when somebody does this, and I would just appreciate that, going forward, that I don't care for, that person, that thing, going to that place, talking about this or that. I just don't want to hear about it. I don't want to go there. I don't, just so heads up, I'm not interested in that. I don't want to link up with it. I don't want to align with it. So just know that about me. Nothing personal to you, just not doing that anymore. So, now you know. And watch and see how they react to that, how they take that. If they take it personally when you didn't mean it personally, it was just something in conversation that you wanted to throw out there. See if they push you. See if they get angry about it, because if they get angry, they're trying to control you. See how they react. Step back and observe. Just be that observer. Throw it out there. Step back and watch the show. If there's no show, if they respect it, awesome, great, wonderful. They passed your little test, because, God tests us, but we can also test people to keep ourselves safe, and God will teach you how to do that with your discernment. But you have to sharpen it. Like any skill, you have to work on it. You have to flex that muscle. You have to go to the discernment gym and put in some time in that gym and work on it and sharpen it. And that's one of the ways, asking questions you already know the answer to, throwing up boundaries, doing something small, doing something big, and stepping back and watch the show. Put them on the stage that they didn't even know existed, that you created them. Pull back the curtains and grab your popcorn and sit back and be like, what are they going to do? Now, you're not trying to hurt them. You're trying to protect yourself, but just see what they'll do, because their actions are going to tell you everything after you set the stage for whatever you're trying to learn, whatever you're trying to expose, whatever you're trying to test. So that's one way to do it. And sadly, this person failed my test, and it was very small. And they even, they disappointed me horribly. And then even brought up another situation to say, oh, I wouldn't do that to you. And I'm like, oh yeah, like you didn't do that over here in this situation, because they're very much the same. And if you would do that then you definitely would do it in this other situation. So you haven't fooled anybody. And this person fumed. I mean, you could almost see the smoke coming out of their ears, because they knew that I had got them. I saw it. I saw the real you, because those two statements aren't mutually exclusive. They don't match up. You can tell me this over here is red, but when you go over there and you say that is yellow, but they're exactly the same thing, you've exposed yourself. And I didn't really have to do anything at all but watch you. And then you don't have to call it out. You just cut and go. You don't need people like that in your life. You can love them from afar, pray for them, wish them the best, but know that they don't wish you the best, because they've exposed themselves. They haven't let you hold your boundary that keeps you safe. And even like with kids, you need safety. They don't know how to hold boundaries yet. You can teach anybody about boundaries, like I'm teaching you now. No matter how old or what anyone's been through, it's never too late to learn how to set boundaries and how to care for yourself properly, because you're reparenting yourself. If you didn't have somebody to tell you that from the beginning, I'm telling you that now, and you can keep telling yourself enough times until it sticks, until it becomes habit, that you have good, healthy boundaries, and that you know your limitations with people. And when you decide to go out and walk around amongst all of these other beings that are wearing various masks that you don't know about, boundaries is a good way to make that mask fall off. And I found it funny to expose this person's mask, and I found it really funny that they got mad and visibly saw that, of course, things got bad in our relationship after that, because they knew that they were exposed, and their anger also further exposed them, and that I would probably never trust them again, and haven't. Um, but I was going to, have a surface level relationship with them still. But in calling it out, that, pretty much threw all of that out the window. So you don't have to do that. Most of the time, that person was an exception, but most of the time, I just, don't talk to them anymore. I distance myself. I don't say why. They pretty much will know why. They will feel it. They will feel it at their very core, and look back and, have a little inventory about your relationship and what's happened most recently, that caused the distance, and this is why. And if they keep saying, well, why did you do this? Why did you do that? Why did you block me? Why did you stop coming to the gym? Why did you go to a different, social group? Why did you do this or that or this or that? That lets you know that they know, and they're just trying to get back in. They're just trying to get angry. They're trying to get you to react. They're trying to get you to lose your cool. They're trying to get you to tell them why you did what you did, so that they can explain it away, and they can make nice and work their way back into your good graces, and again walk all over you, and get those boundaries to go away, to put that mask back on, to somehow confuse you into thinking that the decision that you made was wrong or erroneous, and that it didn't need to be done, that it was a misunderstanding, and that you were in the wrong. Don't ever let anyone make you feel bad for holding a boundary or cutting them off. If you had your discernment and your intuition speak to you, and you are loving yourself and knowing your worth, and you are holding that boundary, it was for your own good, and you did it for all the right reasons. There's no mistakes, accidents, or coincidences. And if you did it, stick to it. Don't let anybody talk you into going back on your decision. Because if they do, then ultimately they're just reinforcing that your decision was the right one. Because if they're trying to get back in after having revealed themselves or having done something disrespectful to you, it reinforces the fact that that boundary was there for good reason with that person, and that they most definitely crossed it, and they know that they crossed it, and they're trying to get you to doubt yourself. They're trying to get you to reverse it. Uno reverse that on you, and that should tell you that you were sniffing the right thing all along, and that you did the right thing. Don't be a softie. Keep that boundary and keep building more, because you're getting good at it now. You're getting good at seeing how to test someone when they need it, and when they're trying to manipulate and get you to go back on your decision, and go back into being an older version of yourself that they took advantage of and liked very much, and they want back. They don't like this new you that has these boundaries, that, takes care of themselves and knows their worth and puts themselves first and fills their own cup, and they don't walk around desperate for connection, to where they're going to accept anything from anybody for fear that someone's going to go away. Sometimes people need to go away, whether they go away on their own or whether you cut them off and you go away. Like, it has to happen. People are here for, not only your whole life. God, I've cut people off that I've been friends with for most of my life, and I thought because of the length of the time that they were there, that they had deserved that spot no matter what they might do, or that they weren't capable, because they had been there for so long, that they weren't capable of doing things that would make me want to cut them out of my life. But that's not true. That's not true. You can be loyal to someone, and they can have been in your life for years and years and years, and still cross the boundary, still do something that was, a betrayal, and can leave at any time. At any time. And it's okay. It's okay. It's more than okay, because loving yourself is something that's hard to teach yourself when no one ever taught you that, and reparenting yourself. And boundaries is a big part of loving yourself. Not only your self-care journey and taking care of yourself, and your positive affirmations, and, going after your goals regardless of who supports you. Just being there for you first and foremost is huge. And when you weren't taught it, you were taught to have no boundaries. You weren't taught how to establish boundaries or why they were important. You weren't loved properly growing up. Maybe you were the worst case scenario and abused. For whatever reason, it is up to you to turn that around. No one's going to do it for you, and you're not ever going to get out of these karmic cycles that keep doing the same thing to you. These same behaviors from different people in different bodies is going to keep happening if you don't put a stop to that. And I want you guys to end that for yourselves so that you can have a healthy, happy future, and you can find your path and your purpose. No matter what you believe, I know that God is guiding me, but He doesn't make you believe anything. So you don't have to do exactly what I'm doing, as long as you don't hurt anybody else or yourself in the process of living your life. But love yourself and reparent yourself and end those karmic cycles, because that's the way that it's only ever going to happen, is if you do it. If you take charge of that and you start taking those steps in that direction and not caring how it might offend anyone in the process, because those are the people that need to go first, and start making new connections. Not everybody is going to be them. There are still good people in the world. And by becoming that best version of yourself that's loving yourself and setting boundaries and sharpening your intuition and your discernment and letting those lead the way to feel, the unseen and not put stock in what's seen, because what's seen is manipulative. We are in this world, but we are not of it. And the more that you rely on man and not God or the spiritual, the more you're going to find yourself in these situations where people hurt you and take advantage of you, because if they haven't invited the right things in and you sync up with them, or if you keep giving them chance after chance after chance, it's only going to keep you stuck in this cycle. It's the same thing coming back to you over and over and over again, or not getting out of the same thing and just staying with the same person and the same thing happening over and over again with that person. Like, it's Groundhog's Day, and it's time for Groundhog's Day to end. We are putting an end to Groundhog's Day on our channel, because we are loving my channel, our channel, this community, because we are loving ourselves and we are putting ourselves on a pedestal and putting you all on your throne. And I don't want you to come down and argue with anybody about your decision. I said what I said. You needed a boundary. I'm walking away. You can leave. Be fine with that. Be okay with that. Bye. Bye. You don't have to say bye. Just go. Just go. Just surrender, release, let it go, and see what happens, because you're going to feel so much better once you start doing those things for yourself, and you keep doing them, and you're going to notice like what a beautiful life it is that you're living and how you could have been living it a long time ago. But regardless, don't beat yourself up about it. Forgive yourself for, you don't know until you know, and once you know better, you're going to do better. So start where you're at, start small. Eventually it's going to turn into a big transformation that you'll be so proud of yourself for. But I hope you're all having a great day. I'll do my little daily check-in later amongst this, but I just wanted to get into the habit of making another full-length video. But I love you. God loves you. You're never alone. I'll see you later.